Welcome, everyone, to a very special episode of the UUR, a Severance podcast. We are officially in our Between Floors episodes, i.e. we are between the seasons, and we've got a lot of great stuff planned for you. And today we have a very special guest with us. So our guest today has one of the most powerful voices in Severance, literally. As Kier Eagan, his words have shaped the entire world of Lumen Industries, setting the tone for everything our Innies experience. But the Scene Stealer's work goes far beyond the halls of Lumen. Born in Providence, Rhode Island, our guest fell in love with the theater, and at 18, he moved to New York City to pursue his passion. He goes on to star as the amazing Karnak in Ride the Cyclone at Arena Stage in Washington, D.C., and as Herr Schultz in the musical Cabaret. You may have also seen him in Katie Keene and The Eric Andre Show, or more recently as Ragged Man in A Different Man with Sebastian Stan. Please welcome to the UUR pod, Kier, Chosen One Kier, Marc Geller.
Marc Geller's here!
Welcome, Marc.
Quite an intro. You told me things about me I didn't even know myself.
Happy to illuminate.
We're so excited to have you here.
Nice to be here.
So excited to talk to you. Ever since we got this lined up, we were like, this is great. We're going to talk to Kier. It's amazing. We know you have a lot of broad acting experience that goes beyond just what we've seen you in Severance. So we're really excited to get into more of that backstory and that history. So my first question to you does take us back. As we mentioned in the intro, we saw that you were born in Rhode Island and got into the theater. Definitely want to hear a little more about that. But we would love to hear you tell us how you came into this whole acting world. What was your start? How did you know that you wanted to pursue acting as a profession? Was there a singular moment in time where like something just clicked, or were you just always that kind of theatery kid that's just, ready to perform? Would love to hear you tell us about that.
There was not a singular moment in time. It's just something I always remember wanting to do. When I was 7 or 8, I used to put on shows and things. Okay. I'd force everybody in school to be in shows. I'd put on little things. When I was 9, I noticed in, I believe, the Providence Journal, which was the big paper, in the neighboring state of Massachusetts, they were opening a children's theater school. And I convinced my parents to send me. And I went there for about 5 years. And no one in my family was in any way connected to the arts or to theater, film, TV, anything like that. So it was certainly, out of the ordinary for my family, but they were very supportive and they sent me. And then after that, a few more years went by, I finished high school and such. And when I was 18, I decided to move to New York. And I started acting professionally here.
Awesome.
That's wonderful. I love that. I love it to hear that, like, when certain people have like a singular moment and then other people, it's just like in their bones. You're just a performer. You're just born a performer.
Yeah, I just always knew I wanted to do it for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite sure why.
Very cool. With theater, this is just a little side tangent. When you were doing the theater in Rhode Island, was there a big community involved in that?
You mean after the theater school when I was doing like community theater and stuff?
Exactly.
There's a lot of that there, like in any state, but it's community theater and stuff like that. There is a professional theater, Trinity Square Repertory Company, which is a big regional theater. Okay. I actually never worked there. I never even auditioned there, but they're a wonderful regional theater, and they still exist today.
Awesome.
So related to that, moving to NYC, we were curious, was there anything particular that drew you to New York? Did you ever consider trying LA, or was it always New York?
Well, that's interesting you asked that, because I didn't tell you the complete truth. When I first thought about it when I was 18, I was like, should I go to New York or should I go to LA? And I decided I'm going to go to LA because it's farther away. It's all the way across the country. I knew no one there. And so I actually did go to LA for 5 months and then decided that was a mistake and came back to New York.
Did New York feel closer to what you experienced in Rhode Island, just being on the East Coast? Was it more of that vibe that you were looking for?
It wasn't so much that as it was, I had no experience with film and television. Theater, I knew. I was at home doing theater. I'd been doing it my whole life up to that point. LA really is not the town for theater and certainly wasn't then. New York was. New York at that point was not so much a film and TV town. There were a few things. Woody Allen filmed things here, and a few other people filmed things, but it wasn't what it is today either. But it seemed like a better fit in general.
That makes sense. So dialing in a little bit to what you were saying about coming into theater, I think I heard just in some of the research that I'd done that you didn't really go to school necessarily for any type of formal training. You just kind of dove right into getting your hands dirty in the business itself.
I took classes, specific classes from teachers who were recommended to me and people I'd heard of in the city when I got here.
Okay.
But I didn't go to a university program after I got out of high school, no. Which is great for some people. I didn't feel like it was great for me because I knew what I wanted to do. It just seemed like I'd be wasting 4 more years.
Mm-hmm. So that was my question. I was like, you don't feel like that held you back at all, not going the formal route?
I don't. And again, it was a different time. So I can't speak to if it would today. But when I did it, I don't feel that it really compromised me in any way. I know today going to schools like, going to the grad program at Yale or something like that, you make a lot of contacts, and that can be very helpful. That wasn't so much the thing then as it is now.
Just for my curiosity, because I didn't go the school route either, and I always go back and forth about would it have been better, would it have not have been, and no way to know. But what were some of the training styles or methods that were recommended to you when you started? Were you a Meisner guy? Did you do Stanislavski? Or
I tried a little of everything and kind of my own technique from that. That's kind of what I advocate if people ask me is, my general feeling was find a class that you're the worst one in and stay in class until you're the best one. And leave that class.
Nice.
And it's just going to be comfortable. And then each of these classes that you go to and you learn from, take the things that worked for you and develop that into your own technique and disregard the things that didn't really work for you or apply to you. Not everything and every technique works for everyone.
I love that. Actually, that's very sound advice. I'm going to remember that. Go to the class that you're the worst in and stay there until you're the best. I like that.
She's like, noted. One more thing. We have a bunch of Severance questions for you, but one more thing we want to get into before that.
Sure.
As we've discussed, you've been able to dabble across different mediums, television, film, theater. Is there a particular medium you gravitate towards or prefer?
Well, until 2018, I primarily only did theater. I very rarely did film and television at all. When I first got to New York, I had a small part, a couple lines in a Woody Allen film, but then went directly back into doing theater again and really was no audition TV. Wow. In 2018, I started to audition for film and television, and I really liked it. So now I primarily do film and television, with the exception of a theater piece now and then if it's something that really interests me. And if they cast me, of course. But something like you mentioned, Ride the Cyclone, which I did in 2023 at Arena Stage, was a play that I was interested in doing, people I was really interested in working with, a theater I was interested in working at, and very good experience overall. So I started auditioning mostly for film and television in 2018 and had some success there. In terms of the differences, they're vast.
Yeah.
They're almost different jobs to a certain extent. And, it's interesting because in some ways they're exactly the same job, and in some ways they're totally different jobs. Certainly the amount of recognition, the salary in film and television is greater. The way you're treated is different, just in a certain way. A lot of things about it are different, but, that's because there's so much celebrity in film and television.
Yeah.
However, on the other side of the coin, on stage, you have immediate recognition from an audience. You have an immediate connection to an audience. Right away, you're getting an energy back. There are other people there. Mm-hmm. The stage is definitely an actor's medium. You certainly, are director during rehearsal, but you're the one up on stage every night. No one can alter the performance that you're giving. Film and television are definitely a director's medium. You can, you give them several options. You can give whatever performance you give, and that can be edited into whatever performance the director wants you to give, basically. So it's more of a director's medium.
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear it put that way. Yeah.
Of course, film and TV has a lot of waiting around.
Yes.
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 Hurry up and wait.
The sense of community in theater is something that I really, really like. Just by virtue of what it isn't as great in film and television. This a principal on a show with the same people every day. But in theater, generally, especially if it's regional theater, you're living with these people, you're with them every day, and a real sense of community developed, which I really enjoy.
Yeah, I think there's something to the immediacy of the feedback that you get in theater, like you were mentioning, versus something like Severance, where it was such a long wait before you even were able to know what people were thinking about, the show and your performance. So definitely a huge difference in that sense.
Marc, is there any particular role of the ones you've done, and it can cross TV or film or theater, that you were most proud of to perform, or that you got the most out of?
I get asked that a lot, and it's hard to say because it seems like it's always the one you're doing. There are certainly some here and there that I didn't enjoy, but most of them I really do enjoy, and they're favorites for different reasons at different points in my life, for different stages in my life that I'm at. So I would have to say, again, and bring up Ride the Cyclone at Arena. I really enjoyed that. That was a really good experience. Obviously, Severance is a really good experience for a number of reasons, but especially because everyone who works on Severance is so nice and so at the top of their game and very supportive. And I haven't had any bad experiences at all, really, with that. Other theater things, for various reasons, things that challenged me, things maybe I thought I couldn't do. I'm always one who, if I see something that frightens me or something I can't do, I'm usually drawn to that. That's just my thing. I like a challenge. So
that's good, because challenges in theater are, I feel like, synonymous. Got to be ready to rise to the occasion.
And the only challenge I have never confronted is stand-up comedy. I've done improv comedy, but I've never stood on a comedy stage by myself and done my own material. That I've never done.
Would you ever? Do you think that's still on the table for you?
I never say never, but it's not something I'd pursue, certainly. It's very personal, I think, whereas, generally in acting, whether it's stage, film, television, you're playing a character. Doing stand-up.
It's you.
Yes. Stand-ups do play characters. There are stand-ups who have characters, but it's personal. It's you up there. When they don't like you, they don't like you.
Marc, I think you're tapping into something, because I have contemplated that myself. And it seems like the one medium that I'm just like, I don't know. I've been asked it a few times, and I wonder if that might be the reason that it is more personal to do stand-up than it is to do just someone else's work that you're bringing to life. And
there's no one to support you, other than the audience, of course. But you're up there alone. There's no one to help you. There's no one to rescue you.
Nope.
I've had a one-man show on stage either, and nor do I have any desire to, really. I was cast in one that I ended up not doing for a number of reasons. But I've done a lot of two-person shows. But the thing I like about theater is the sense of camaraderie and working with other people directly. And so to be up on a stage by myself for an hour and a half or 2 hours doesn't hold a lot of appeal to me.
I get that. One-man shows sound very intriguing, but it does seem, I just don't know how. I've seen a few that are really, really solid, really good performances.
Well, yeah.
But to hold an audience for that much time, I don't know.
With that, it's not even something that I'm afraid of. It just doesn't really hold a lot of interest.
It just is interesting. Okay.
Should something come to me at some point that I read and it's, and it really did strike a chord and was brilliant, I certainly would do it, but it's certainly not something that I would have ever pursued.
Okay.
So I do like two-person shows a lot.
Two-person shows are so much, I feel like, you guys are the actors, you tell me, but whenever I see one, it seems like, my goodness, it must be exhausting because you hold so much responsibility as far as just telling the story and keeping the audience captive, right? It's just the two of you. And at least with the ones that I have seen too, those tend to also be the shows that are more bare bones on the stage too. So there's not a lot going on around you. It's all focus on you the whole time.
All true, but it can be really rewarding as well. I guess the only real drawback to a two-person show would be if you really didn't like the other person.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
I've never had that experience, luckily.
Fortunately, me neither.
I've had that experience in shows with big casts, but I've never had that experience in which, well, you may not think it's funny, but I think it's funny. When I was at the show at Arena Stage, we had a talk back after, we had several after many performances, but after one in particular, someone had asked a question which prompted me to say, in every show I've ever done in my life, there's always that one person that's a real jerk, that person that you just hate, that you don't want to be around. And I said, in this cast at Arena Stage, in Ride the Cyclone, there's absolutely no one in this cast that I don't love. Oh my God, it's me. I'm the one.
I'm the problem.
Oh,
that's a good one.
I was assured it wasn't, but you never know.
Okay, so I'm going to switch gears a little bit now because it's time for the Severance questions. Can you tell I'm really excited about it? So, my first question for you, Mark. One thing that I'm always curious about with shows like Severance, where they're clearly like very planned out through, far in the future, and with your role in particular, where you know Kier's scenes are very much isolated. It's just your voice. Do you get the full scripts or read the full scripts and you know what's going to happen, or do you just do your part and then watch along and theorize with us?
I do not get the full scripts. The most I've ever been given was for the season finale of season two, because obviously I was given that whole scene, but I was given sort of prior to it and the scene after it as well. So
Yeah.
I knew a lot more about that episode than I've ever known about any of the others. But I pretty much watch them as a fan when they're on as well.
Nice. I love that. I was like, wait, do I have a follow up with that? Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Rodnesha.
No, you're fine. Because I was thinking to myself, like, I don't know if you are doing any theory casting yourself, but I'm sure you have seen plenty of theories come your way. Have there been any standouts or any that you're like, ooh, oh, that might?
Most of the standouts that I see are because of the absurdity of them, not because of, I think, oh, that's probably where this is going kind of thing. I know Dan Erickson knows where it's going. I know he's always known where it was going and had written the entire treatment, in advance. So I know there's an end game and it's in good hands.
Mhm.
Some of the strangest ones I've heard are that we're all aliens, things that I can't imagine are true, or that Rickon and his goats, like in the Island of Moreau, who've been turned into humans, strikes me as odd as well. But, I could be proven wrong.
The goat one, I sent that to Callie, a couple weeks back. And I was like, have you seen the goat theory? This is probably the craziest one I've seen. And I still don't even understand what that means, that they
Yes.
have goat brains where they turn from goats to humans.
I think it's like the film The Island of Dr. Moreau, the theory where they actually take actual animals and do some kind of process on them so they slowly turn into people.
Oh.
Or, I don't know.
Okay.
Right.
The goat's name is Peggy, by the way, the one that didn't die.
Yay.
She has a boy name in the show, but her name is Peggy in real life.
Oh, Peggy. I love
I know,
it.
Mark, you didn't necessarily need to be on. I don't know if you were on set for any of those days with the animals or had access to set at any point when that was happening.
Not with the goats.
Okay.
I was on set for the finale episode for timing reasons. Most of the stuff prior, like the Perpetuity Wing and the, what's it called? Woe's Hollow, I did in a studio with just Ben and a technician, with Ben giving me directions and, and me just recording in a sound studio. There didn't need to be anyone else there because I'm not actually talking to anyone. But in the final episode, timing reasons with Trammell, I actually had to be on set for several days that week to do that scene.
Mhm.
Well, that is a perfect segue into the next question I have. You already answered some of it in part, but we are very curious about your recording sessions as Kier. I mean, you answered it a little bit. Clearly, it wasn't all done in one session. I'm sure it was all spread out. Number one, were you allowed to kind of create your interpretation of Kier in terms of the voice, the presence, or did they have something they were looking for and bring it to you? Or as we put, a canonicalized version beforehand?
They pretty much have given me free reign. I think they pretty much give everyone free reign to a certain extent. At the first recording studio session with Perpetuity Wing voiceover, Ben told me how old he wanted the character to be, how sickly he wanted the character to be, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And he was supposed to be, in his deathbed, like in his late 90s, seriously ill, dying kind of thing. Where we get to the Woe's Hollow episode, he's not as old as that. When he's doing that voiceover, he's considerably younger than that and much healthier than that.
Got it.
And get to the finale where I'm with Trammell, he's much more vibrant and vital, because it would be awfully, dull if I were dying and coughing and trying to do a comedy routine with Trammell at the same time. It would be a little odd. So he's actually aging backwards so far, aged backwards in each of the three voiceover things so far.
That's so funny.
That's got to be fun to get to play, to get those varying stages that you're kind of lending.
It is. And, when we were doing the finale episode, Ben was operating the head and the arms with the joystick of the thing. He likes to do the animatronic things. So he was operating that and I was doing the voice. And so that's fun. And I actually got to, interact with the other actors. And I was able to interact with Trammell and with Britt Lauer and Adam Scott and, other people on set, which was nice.
Oh, that's so fun. I bet Ben had a blast with that animatronic. I don't know why. I feel I can just see him like, you know.
He loved, and I've told this story a million times, but I'm sure you've heard it, but I'll tell it again quickly. We had a rehearsal day reading through the scene, and then Ben wanted me to take some pictures with the animatronic because he also likes to take pictures a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Me, next to it, and then he wanted to actually do the joystick and make it move, and he wanted me to move, the same way as the robot while he did little video things with his camera. And I couldn't get anywhere near the head level because it was so tall. It's super, super, super tall, and I'm not super, super tall. So I was way up on my toes trying to get my head as close to the head as I could get to be in the picture with it. And I turned to Ben and I said, "Why is the statue 5 inches taller than me?" And the next day when we shot it, that line was in the script, which hadn't been before.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So your experience with the animatronic
I love that.
lended to that awesome line read. Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah, that is.
Okay, this is not one of the questions, but I'm just curious. How much breaking happens on the set? Because we see the end product. It's very, very serious, put together, but some of these line reads are really funny.
During the takes, no one ever broke that I saw. I mean, Trammell certainly didn't. Anybody else would have been, around the corner, so no one would have known if they broke or not. But neither Trammell or myself did. So
wow,
a professional. Yep.
I'm sure some of these really funny larger scenes, people break. They must. I haven't been there when it's happened, but I'm sure they must.
Were you solely directed by Ben, or did anyone ever step in besides Ben for your voiceover sessions?
All of the episodes that I've been on have been directed by Ben, and all the voiceover things were with Ben.
Awesome.
Always been Ben. And Dan Erickson as well.
Okay, so a related question. So you've already said you got to be there for the season 2 finale, but with the previous ones, were you ever given like any pictures or set visuals to kind of help perform your portrayal?
Well, no, because there would be pictures of me, and I already know what I look like.
True. This is you.
None of those were a surprise to me. I've seen all those in advance. They certainly are willing to answer any questions I have, give me any information I need, but I try to only ask for what I need.
Did you have to do a mold for the animatronic?
A lot of pictures. Just the animatronic alone was probably, 50 or 60 pictures of, turn your face a little more, a little more, a little more, a little more, up, down. That was a separate session, not the one that I've talked about that took 10 hours. I've talked about prior a lot. That was for more like the Civil War paintings and all those things. But for the animatronic, they needed really specific things at every possible angle of my face.
Oh, did you have to sit for those paintings like you would in like the 1800s? Like just hold that pose? Okay.
We did a very long photo session with me in different costumes at different ages with different hair and different makeup and such. That was like 10 hours long. And then all the paintings are based on those photos. Anything that we weren't able to do then, like me as a child for the picture in the bed of the youthful convalescence, I gave them photos of me at those ages. All the paintings are based on me. Even the kid in the bed looks just like a picture I gave them of me. Or the stirring the pot in the ether factory looks exactly like a picture I gave them of me when I was like 25. And I had a mustache and looked like that. So they're all based on a real picture of me.
I love that because this show, just the attention to detail in this show is bonkers. So I shouldn't be surprised to hear that those also came from pictures of you, but I'm just like, what? That's amazing. I love that so much.
The other interesting thing with this character, which I've mentioned on other interviews you may have heard as well, is that when I was cast originally, I was just cast to be a painting of Kier. I've said before, I assume that's the pig painting that's in MDR because that's the one you see the most.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if that's the case or not. That then progressed into becoming several paintings, into becoming tens of paintings, and then sculptures and busts and masks and dolls and whatever else, water toys, everything. But when it came time to do the first voiceover, they contacted my agent and asked me to audition to be my voice because they hadn't hired me to be a voice. They'd hired me to be a face. They knew I had the face they wanted. They didn't know I had the voice that they wanted. So I had to do a few versions of the perpetuity wing speech and record them and have my agent send them to them. And then like a day later, they got back and said, yes, we like his voice too. So he'll be the voice as well. But that was one of the weird things in my career was, auditioning to be my own voice for something I was already doing.
So that's another good segue because we are very intrigued by your casting process getting into this show. We're sitting here like, did Marc know someone who knew someone who got him on the show, or did he go through the normal casting director, show up, audition? What was that process?
I went on an audition. I was submitted and then went on an audition. when they called me in. And it was at the studio up in the Bronx. And I went up there. And when I got there, it was pretty early in the day. There were about 10 or so other guys who were all similar age to me, but very different types, different heights and different weights and different looks. And one by one, we each went into Ben's office. And it was Ben and Darren Erickson, the creator and writer, and one of the producers as well. And it was an interview. And it went extremely well. I was in there for a while, like 15 minutes or so probably, and we laughed and talked, and I felt very good about it. And then I left, and I assumed throughout the day there were many other guys that also came in other than the 10 that I saw. But about a day or two later, I got an email from my agent saying they had contacted her and they wanted me to be the face at that point. And then, as I just said, that led into the voice later. That was 1 week, exactly 1 week before the COVID shutdown started. So I was cast later, everything closed down. So I was like, oh, and now this is never going to happen. But we did a couple of little things on Zoom with me and the artists, just so they could see my face and get an idea for starting to work on some of the paintings and things. And then about 5 months later, we were still wearing masks. But that's when I went for the big 10-hour photo shoot that I've mentioned, where because it was the middle of COVID and I knew I wasn't leaving my apartment, I just let my hair grow and grow and my beard grow and grow in case they needed it. So I had a long, very like ZZ Top kind of, Hills Brothers cough drops beard and long hair. And then they had fitted me for some costumes previously. I'd gone for a couple costume fittings for Civil War costumes and period suits and such. So I went in that day and they put the different costumes on, and then they would photograph me, and they would switch the costume, and they would cut my hair a little, cut my beard a little, dye my hair a little, dye my beard a little, change the makeup a little, photograph me. So by the end of the 10 hours, I had short black hair and was clean shaven and looked as young as I possibly can. So, and like I said, for anything younger than that, I gave them photos. But because I was so old, because I had grown all the, the long beard and everything, from that back to clean shaven with the hair, they had a wide span of just pictures of me looking like I was, 20, 25 years apart almost. So,
do you get to keep those? Do you have those or any copies of like?
Oh, the photos. I've never even seen them. One of them would be the picture in Ms. Cobell's shrine where I have the dark beard and the dark hair. That's one of those pictures that was taken that day. That's an actual photo that they then, obviously put a sepia tone thing on to make it look older. Most of the others are paintings based on photos. I think that's actually one of the only actual photos that's just a photo from that day. It's the one from the shrine, and she also has it in a little wallet she looks at sometimes.
Now, Mark, as an actor, you get this gig, right? You're like, okay, I'm going to show up, take some pictures. They're going to get my image. After that whole bit happens, are you secretly thinking, are they going to bring me back for anything? Or are you completely resolved and like, well, that was fun and we're moving on to the next thing?
From the very beginning, they said there was always a possibility of, maybe appearing in a dream or a vision or a flashback or something. So yeah, the hope is always there. And in season 3, I would love it if that happened, if there was a flashback or an origin thing, or even if I appeared in someone's dream or something, that'd be great. I love being on set live with this group of people. So I would certainly welcome that, but no indication has been given to me yet that that's definitely happening. So,
our fingers are crossed. We want flashbacks.
I'll take a whole origin story episode like Ms. Cobell got if they would like to give me one.
Yes, I was just going to say that.
Please. We have so many Kier questions. They have to do it. I don't know. I'm projecting, but they have to.
Back to the Kiernival. We can do the whole Kiernival episode.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Yeah.
That would be a wish list thing if that were to happen. But
fingers crossed.
I have no confirmation of that.
Yeah. No, we'll see, I guess.
Although on it, they'll do it. So tell them.
Oh, we are very vocal fans in the fandom. Not that we have any sway, but it's like we have several requests, and this is definitely one of them.
Right. We'll try our best. Well, related to, I guess, kind of wish lists, our last planned Severance question is, if you could step into the physical world of Severance, is there any part of like Lumen Industries that you would like your character to explore more? Or is there any moment that has already occurred that you like wish you had been able to be a part of?
Nothing that's already occurred seems like it would have any way of having me in it, really. I'm trying to think about it, but I mean, I guess there could have been some kind of vision or something in the whole Ortbo thing when they were seeing all the doubles and everything. They could have done something there if they wanted to, since we were talking about Dieter and stuff. So no, in terms of the future, I don't know how they would integrate me into it. It's an interesting question, and obviously that's why they have Dan and such talented writers, of which I am not one, because I don't know how they would do that. But they do have my whole house in the back, in my bedroom where the waffle party was and everything. So there's certainly a million things that could happen there if they want to use that set again.
That's true.
Yeah, I could wear the Kier waffle party mask and then take it off and really be Kier underneath.
Kierception.
I love the idea of having the Kier novel come back up, though, and I would like to personally know more about Kier and Imogen. So I don't know if there's any possibility of something there.
I would too. I think that would be really interesting to know a little bit, more of the origin of who he was and why he started this. And, I kind of have this image in my head of in the beginning of sort of a huckster snake oil salesman, like in Wizard of Oz, like, Professor Marvel in the beginning when Dorothy meets him. That's somehow interestingly developing into becoming, starting a pharmaceutical company and becoming the CEO. It's certainly interesting. And he certainly lived a long life. I don't think he dies until he's 98 or something. So there's certainly a lot of material to use if they wish to do so.
Boy, oh boy, to be in that writer's room. I have had so many machinations of Kier. I mean, that could be a whole spinoff in and to itself. I don't think they'd do a spinoff, but who knows? Oh, Mark. Okay. I'm feeling very much like Miss Cobell. Oh, Mark. Mark. Okay. I have other questions I want to ask, but let me just get this one out of the way since it's what we have already written down. Are there any upcoming projects or roles or things in the foreseeable future that you're planning to do that you'd like to share with the listeners, stuff that you've got on the front burners coming?
A couple things, but nothing that I can actually talk about because of NDAs and such that they make you sign nowadays. The only thing I can talk about is, if people want to see something else, that I am in A Different Man, which is streaming on Max. And I think it's a really good movie, and Sebastian Stan is wonderful in it. Small role. I have two scenes, one at the very beginning and one at the very end, but it's interesting because they're 20 years apart, so I get to be different ages in them.
Oh, I haven't seen the scene. I need to watch the whole movie. I saw the clip that you had on your reel, which was hilarious.
In the earlier one, I'm 20 years younger, and I have black hair and a beard and such.
Okay.
But it's the very beginning and very end of the film. And again, that was a really interesting project to work on too. And everybody was wonderful on that. And the director, Aaron, was great to work with. So
how was Sebastian?
Very, very nice. Both of my scenes are with him. So luckily he was very, very nice. And the one that you saw in my reel is just me and him. So.
And that was another moment where I was like, if that were me, I mean, obviously they're not going to show it on camera because it's dramatic moment, but I would have laughed because just the way you're ranting behind him, I was like, yeah. I
did manage to make him laugh once. We hadn't even really met each other yet because they just kind of stuck us out there and we were just going to go. And the first thing I think I say in that clip is, I say, you look familiar somewhere. You have nice shoes. You look familiar. And just jokingly, we haven't started rolling yet, but we were just kind of rehearsing it. And I passed him. I was like, you look familiar. You look like the Winter Warrior. And that made him laugh.
Nice. Hey. Great improv, Mark.
I think he quickly said to me, don't say that when the camera's rolling. And I was like, oh, well.
Just had to get it out. So no theater coming up in New York? Nothing we're working on at the moment?
I've had a bunch of auditions in the past couple of weeks, several for really good projects that I'm very, very interested in. So my fingers are crossed that at least one of those will come through.
Fingers crossed, knock on wood. We hope you get it. So that's great. Do you have anything else, Callie? I mean, I have other things, but I don't want to hold Mark up all day.
Whatever you got, Rodnesha. I'm just like, oh, this is wonderful.
I mean, again, these are just little musings of mine. One, you playing Herr Schultz in Cabaret. That is quite the role to take on. If you don't mind my asking, how recent was that or how long ago was that you did?
It was in 2019.
Oh, okay. Fairly recently. Okay. How was that?
Great. I was then cast in another production after that in the same role, which I liked because it's a musical and I'm not a singer.
Okay.
So there aren't that many musicals that I can do. I've done, West Side Story playing a non-singing part. Ride the Cyclone is a musical, but my character doesn't sing. Herr Schultz sings. He has 2 songs, but they're within my limited range of singing. And the woman who worked opposite me in that, a wonderful actress named Diane Manister, played Fraulein Schneider, and she was just a pleasure to work with. And she was a wonderful singer, and she really helped me. So,
oh, that's lovely. See, now that's interesting because you did Katie Keene too, also about Broadway musical stuff. And I was under the assumption that you were maybe a musical guy. So
I love musical theater, but I'm not a good singer. Certainly not by New York City standards. I actually was offered the opportunity to audition for the current Broadway revival of Cabaret to understudy Herr Schultz, but I didn't do the audition just because it would be pointless. I mean, in a New York City market, my voice just no. I don't. I'm not delusional. My voice is anywhere near good enough to be able to do that.
Self-aware. I like it.
I mean, there are fabulous singers here that they certainly don't need my singing voice to complement that.
I'm a big theater person, which is funny because you almost did the inverse of me, where I probably should have gone to New York, but I went the LA route. But I'm very much a theater gal. And like you said, it's not the biggest theater town, but I fit it in where I can because I got to be on the stage. So I could talk about New York theater all day.
Short time that I was in LA for, I didn't audition for any theater. I auditioned for very little at all, quite honestly. But theater, I wasn't able to find at all at that time period.
Okay, I was like, I can't speak to because I don't know exactly when you were here, but
long time ago. Probably weren't born yet. It was a long time ago. And the thing I love about the theater also is I've made lots of lifelong friends from shows, in the theater that I've kept in contact with and really have become close to. So from my experience, now I've never been a weekly principal character on a television series, so, that'd probably be very different. But from my experience with film and television, it's more, you do the job, you're friendly with the people and stuff, but not as much in theater as keeping like lifelong friends from that. Like I said, if I was in the show every week, that might be a very different thing. But from my perspective, certainly I've become closer to people in stage productions that I've done.
I imagine that the theater community in New York is very close-knit, just by way of how New York is as a city. Just seems very communal. Are there people that you've worked with in the theater community that you've crossed paths with throughout the years?
All the time. Not only is it a very small world, as people say, but it's a very small business. And you run into the same people over and over again. So, you also want to be very careful who you alienate because you're going to run into those same people over and over again.
That's true.
Don't speak badly about anybody unless you have a really good reason to, and then think twice.
Listen, I go by my grandmother's adage, if you can't say nothing nice, just don't say nothing at all.
I go by the adage, if you can't say nothing nice, come sit next to me.
Oh, there you go. So find Mark, find a little corner, do a little chat, get it out your system. There it is. Okay, I saw that you did the Eric Andre show.
Mm-hmm. He was lovely.
I've heard great things about Eric Andre, but also I've seen the show and I'm just like, this is bonkers.
It is bonkers.
Well, I should send you my episode then, because my episode's really bonkers.
Please do. How structured is it? Or is it straight just improv, whatever comes out, comes out?
It's pretty structured. My particular thing was one of those hidden camera things where we're punking someone, kind of, or pranking, whatever the term is. So there was obviously more leeway because when the person who actually wasn't in on the joke was talking to us, there had to be improv involved. But there was a basic script that we memorized and stuck to for the most part. We stayed within those parameters.
That surprises me so much.
I'm sure Eric must improv a lot. I mean, again, I was only in one episode, so, but I tried to stay within what they had written. And also I did The Onion, which is one of things that's high on my list of favorite things I've done. I did an episode of The Onion where I played a psychic medium. And on The Onion, which is also a comedy show, you would think it would be very loosey-goosey, but they wanted it word for word.
Oh,
wow.
It was like, this little scene was like 7 or 8 minutes. It's mostly me talking. So they wanted it exactly the way it was written. So, which was, nice because I came from the theater and memorized it exactly the way it was written. But I also had an improv background, so I was ready to improv if the moment came.
As you were saying that, Mark, I was thinking to myself, because I know, there's different schools of thought on how the actor is to deal with the dialogue. I feel like for you coming from theater and again, having a long trajectory with acting, are you very much like, do it as written, wait to be told, we can flex?
Yes. I memorize it exactly. I like to respect the author's words and, they took a lot of time choosing them. So I do it exactly as written. If I'm then told to try something else, I'm certainly up for that. If I'm given free rein by a director, I'm totally up for that. But until they tell me that, I do what's on the page. That's just me, though. Not everyone does that, but I approach it.
Okay. And then this is the last one for real. Sketch. Are you doing any sketch or improv stuff right now? Are you a part of any troupes or do you just kind of on and off?
I am not. I actually haven't done it in a number of years, which makes me a little sad in the sense that when I did do it, I was unbelievably sharp and so quick. It just really hones your mind. I would like to do it again just for that reason, just to become that sharp again and that quick again. but I have not done it in a while, with the exception of, using improv
in your work,
rehearsal process or something.
Yeah. Okay.
But being part of an improv troupe, it's been a long time since I've done, but I would certainly welcome the opportunity to do it again at some point.
Did you do any of the, quote, the majors, your UCBs, your groundlings?
I did not. I was in a company that toured around and did things, but it was not one of those companies. Though I did do, UCB does in New York anyway, or did many years ago, these challenges where they would have other groups come in and they'd be like a challenge during their shows where you'd each be given stuff, and then, the audience would vote and someone would win on a challenge of the thing. Actually, my group won.
Hey.
However, I also offended Upright Citizens Brigade accidentally because I didn't know them that well. And when I got there, I said totally innocently, not realizing, I thought they were called Uptight Citizens Brigade. And they were happy about that.
To be fair, that's funny. I feel like I would laugh, but maybe that's just me.
They were all comics, but they didn't seem to have that much of a sense of humor about it.
That sounds like a very good parody point to Upright Citizens Brigade. I would have found it funny.
People I'm talking about are probably all dead. So.
Okay. All right. I'm done. I'm done for real.
Well, I don't have an outro. Just, thank you. We're so excited to kick off our in-between episodes with you, Marc. It's been a pleasure. This has been so fun.
It's been a pleasure for me as well. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we are hopeful, fingers crossed, that we will see you some more, maybe not just in portraiture or animatronic. I feel like this is building, Marc. We started with just a portrait. We got to animatronic.
When they have me on live, you'll have to have me back on here to talk about it.
We will. If you'll have us, we will have you back for sure. I definitely want to hear when Kier comes to life, how that experience was for you.
Let's hope it happens. Otherwise, you can just have me back really depressed that he never does come. I'll just sit here.
It's like, so Marc, tell us, how bad is it? Does it sting? Does it sting real bad?
If anything, we'd love to have you come back and theory discuss with us when season 3 comes on.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. All right, you guys. This has been the UUR with Marc Geller. We hope you enjoyed getting to sit with our chosen one, our Lord above. He's amazing. We are looking forward to seeing what big things he does. Marc, please let us know. We have you on social, but if anything does pop up or any of these projects do pop off, please let us know. We'll spread the word.
And speaking of social, people who are listening, if you
please
follow me on Instagram at GELLER_MARC. And then I post lots of stuff about Severance and lots of close-up pictures of props that you don't always get to see and stuff on the show.
Marc has little fun tidbits. It's a good follow. If you're a fan, it's a good follow.
Yes.
If you're not a fan of Severance, you'll probably be totally bored. But if you are,
there might be something interesting in there. I don't know. There's something for everybody.
There's a different man stuff. This stuff, whatever I'm doing is up there. But there's I post a lot of fan art of Severance too. So if you're a fan artist, I love posting.
Shout out to fan art. If you want to get your stuff seen,
yes,
follow Marc.
We have unbelievably talented fans. I have a little collection on my one wall at home of about 12 framed pictures of fan art of Kier. I like to hang them up. So they're all in little matching frames in a little collection. I think there are 12 of them at this point.
It's kind of funny that it's art imitating life, imitating art. Like, it's that fun little roundabout, right? Because it's all based on your actual photos, and then it's become art within the world, and now it's art out here.
The pictures of me of somebody else. On another show the other day, everybody on the television show lives in Kier, but I'm the only person who literally lives in Kier.
But oh, we're definitely having you back, Marc. Okay. Thanks, you guys, for tuning in and listening today. This has been the UUR Between Floors. Please continue to follow us on social media. We are at the UUR Pod on Instagram, Lemonade, Blue Sky, all the things. And again, we'll be continuing to follow Marc, his progress, and sharing more Severance content there. Stay tuned with us through these off-season months, hopefully not too long. Marc, do you know? You can't tell us. Don't tell us. It's fine.
But it won't be as long as last time.
You heard it here. It won't be as long as last time.
Well, hopefully there won't be any catastrophes this time. The first season was COVID. The second season was the act. So if there are no big things like that, it shouldn't be anywhere near as long as last time.
Yes.
Ooh, knock on wood. All right, guys. We'll check us out.
Yes.
Wait, what am I trying to say? Callie, finish this. My brain just left. It left.
I don't know. You wrapped it up well. We will see you next time.
All right. Bye.